Okay, we're looking at several aspects of the presidency and the executive branch, and we got several cards to go through. We got to do three right now, but we got a good chunk of material to hit during this particular unit. So this just starts it off pretty easy stuff. So 2.37, we looked at Congress qualifications, like what is it? What do you have to be a House, and who gets to be a senator? Now we're looking at presidential qualifications. They are 35 years old. You have to be 35 years old. Remember the House minimum, 25, Senate, 30. Notice the age keeps going up here. The idea is that certain level of wisdom and life experience before you take on this office. Natural born citizen. So you need to be a natural born citizen. That generally means you need to be born in the U.S. or on a U.S. Base or territory, U.S. military base overseas, or born to parents who are natural citizens. If you're born in France, but both your parents are natural citizens, you're a natural citizen. And you have to be 14-year resident. 14-year resident. So that could be like someone who's lived outside the country but are natural born. All right, so that's 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 it. Okay, cool. We're moving on. All right, 2.38 powers of the president that I want to just highlight here that were in the Constitution. This is, remember, a formal power, and that's the power of reprieves and pardons. The power of reprieves and pardons. 2.38. I always get a ton of questions on this, and it's always what if? There's no what ifs. The president has this power. It is an absolute power. It cannot be overturned by a court. It may be unpopular, which is why, by the way, presidents often use this power at the end of their term. So it is a formal power. That means it's written in the Constitution. A reprieve means basically to shorten a sentence or put a stay on an execution. And a stay on an execution means, yeah, you can't execute them right now. We're going to wait. All right. So to shorten a sentence, so you let the person out of jail. Right now, here's the key: your punishment or the crime is still on your record. Like you still did it with a reprieve. You're just let out early. Time served, basically. A pardon, though, if a president gives you a pardon, that basically wipes away the crime. You've been forgiven. The record is erased. So this is a very, very powerful check on the judiciary. It's a very, very, very powerful and, like I said, absolute check on the judiciary. So all presidents do this, some more than others. I think in recent years, President Clinton used it as much as any president. I believe he had over 400 pardons and reprieves. I think President Trump has used, I don't know, less than 30, I think, maybe less than 20. But then again, he's only been in office he hasn't been in office for too long. All right, last thing, 2.39, presidential titles. Now, just so you know, some of these are not actual formal titles, so be careful about saying like, well, in the Constitution it says the president is chief diplomat. Okay, it doesn't actually say that. We looked at Article 2. It doesn't actually say chief diplomat, but it does say commander in chief. That is one of his titles. But these are titles that are either formal or informal that the president has based on his powers. All right, so here we go. Let's go through them really quick. So, chief executive, that actually is in the Constitution, and administrator, chief administrator. Now, administrator is not, but this is a title that just means that he's head of the executive branch and is enforcing the law. Chief executive. And by the way, you have pictures here of President Obama and President Trump meeting with their cabinets, which are the heads of the departments of the executive branch. Chief diplomat, that's not a actual formal title, but that is a title that's taken from the power of the president because the president has the power to meet with foreign leaders. And because they have that right to meet with foreign leaders, therefore diplomacy happens through them. Now, remember, if they're going to have a treaty signed, that treaty has to go to the Senate to be approved, but the president's the one who negotiates it. And that power to negotiate treaties is pretty much an absolute power with the president. Chief legislator. Again, not a formal power, but the president is a chief legislator in the sense that the formal power is to recommend law. That happens during a State of the Union address, which we'll talk about. The president gets up and can recommend legislation. That is a power. And also, by the way, the president can veto a law. So that's a power under being a legislator. And commander in chief, that's the clear one. Like everybody knows that. Like, yeah, the president is in charge of the military, branches of the military. The picture on the right, by the way, is a picture of President Obama. And I think you can see, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, this is Vice President Joe Biden, and Hillary Clinton is actually covered up by my face. But they're actually watching the raid on Osama bin Laden's compound in 2011. All right, and then another title that is very informal, and it's not one that's used very often because it just means like the idea of a lame duck. A lame duck president is a president who's in the final period of their office, and the reason they're called a lame duck is because they're not as important, and therefore they're going to be replaced soon. So if you ever want to hear the term lame duck, well, they're a lame duck. They're not running for re-election, or they just lost the election. They have like 2 months left in office. Now they're what's called a lame duck. And so basically everyone ignores them. I mean, why pay attention to them? Because they won't really have any more power. No one's going to listen to them. They're getting replaced soon. That's what it means by lame duck. All right, awesome. Those are the titles of the presidency. And that's the end of this lesson. Thanks. 3 cards. Study.